Welcome to the Morningstar Podcast, a space for real conversations and shared experiences. Together, we'll explore the ideas and stories that inspire, guide, and connect us all. Let's get started. The Morningstar Podcast discusses topics related to recovery, addiction, and mental health, which may be sensitive for some listeners. We are not medical professionals, and this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice or treatment. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome back to the Morningstar Podcast. My name is Jared. I'll be your host today. I'm here with my co-host Des, and today we got Izzy and Toni, and I'm very excited about this episode. Can you guys introduce yourselves a little bit first to get started?
So my name is Ismelda Vasquez, or Izzy. I started working with Good Road about November 2021. I initially applied with Good Road hoping to work with, over at Healing Hearts, the nursery, because they said they needed childcare and watch. But that actually wasn't open yet, so they offered me these other positions, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's give it a try. And now here, almost 4 years later.
And I'm Toni Johnson. I work with the MHA Recovery Services. I've been working with Good Road since January of 2021, and I started as a residential tech, moved up to sober living, then moved up to case management, and kind of started the MHA Recovery Services team when it first started. Me and Dr. Freilich.
So I guess what's it like? I know you guys take that in that first phone call, and you guys are really like the hub for when a client first calls in. So what happens when someone calls the hotline and they're asking for help?
So initially, what we've asked the team to do is, for sure check safety. Is the client safe? Is this a call that we can continue on with, or do we need to get the client to a safe environment? So that's the initial question we always ask, and ask what kind of services are they requesting. Some of them just want information, and we have all that information we can share, whether it's to how to do EDOs or how to start with our team, or, other resources that are available for outpatient, inpatient services. But if we are if they're deciding to do the intake call, how it starts is just our team gathers the basic demographic information about where they live, contact information, how we can get a hold of them right away, any emergency contacts that they may want. And then usually based on that information they give us, if they want to proceed with scheduling an evaluation, then we find an evaluation, whether through the LAC or through another, through Good Road or like Summit Counseling, just depending on the individual and where they're from. And we always have to keep in mind that our LACs at Good Road can only do evaluations for clients in the state of North Dakota because of licensure. So say a client calls from Indiana or Arizona, then we have to try to find services for them there too. And we make some calls usually to the local human service zone and connect a client that route as well.
And that's completely unique too, because most places only have their intake team at, say, the treatment center, right? So that's a lot of help if someone's, say, out of state, or if someone can't necessarily get connected to that treatment center. There's just a hotline number they can call and immediately get kind of connected with you guys. So
right, yep.
It's awesome. So I guess what kind of information, and I guess you kind of talked about the information. How do you guys help them take that next step then?
Toni?
Okay, so we do the intake, right? And so usually we have to get an eval for them. We need to see where they're at, whether that's residential, intensive outpatient, aftercare services. We need to see where they're at. So we schedule them in evaluation. Once we receive that information back, then we can start to look for services. And the facilities that we prioritize are in North Dakota. We use Good Road first, and then we source out, and that also comes along with travel too.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them there, transportation, flights. So we help them all the way,
Mm-hmm.
all the way until it's a successful completion and they are ready to go back out into the community on their own. We're with them the entire way. And it's not only us, there's sober living there. We work with so many programs to get the client the services that they need. We help all the way through.
Yeah, communication is key between all departments. I mean, there's been a couple times where, something's not relayed fully, but then we just collaborating with each other is definitely something that I've learned. I know because as a mom, I want to take everything on and say, I can do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that in this job, it's so much easier if you're willing to work with the team. I mean, sober living, the LACs up north at Good Road, a lot of the case management. I mean, just without them, I think all of us would need a form of mental health services for sure, because it can definitely be a tiring job. But I mean, that's what we do it for. I mean, I just find it a joy in it when somebody comes to me. It's like, oh, I remember you, and I don't always get to see their face, so I know their voice. But they're like, I worked with you this many times, and I'm so glad to finally meet you. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. It's rewarding to see that they're doing well and in sober living, and even some of them are hired on as part of the team. So that's definitely rewarding for us as a team, at least for me.
And I think that's a big part of the success too, is the quick response. And like, I know there's been days where you guys had a phone call and then I was like driving to South Dakota within the next hour.
Yes,
And it's like no hesitation. And there's been times I've done that and been there and then they've been like, never mind. But but
that quick turnaround.
It's being, because I know when I was out there in my addiction, I don't know how many times I woke up and I was ready. I was ready to go, but I didn't have that push, necessarily that I think you guys offer a lot of people, like that, just that little extra nudge, that, because once you're in the door and you never know what's going to happen, once you get someone into services, I think it can make all the difference, So I guess after, kind of, what does your involvement look like once because we do send a lot of people out of state. And I know our involvement up at Good Road, we've had a lot of people on the podcast from Good Road, and we've tried to have them. I hope that we've brought some comfort to the family members that send, their family to Good Road, knowing that their family members are in good hands. So what does your guys' involvement look like for the ones that we send out of state?
So when they are in a treatment facility, our case managers, they will be assigned a case manager from our team, and that case manager will be constantly checking up on the client. We have what we call art meetings, and that is a kind of like a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting with that client. And the reason I pushed for this is because I'm also in recovery, and I was down in Arizona and I felt very alone. And it felt good to receive a call from I had Jarrett Baker, who would call and check in on me, and it made me realize, okay, they didn't just drop me off here and forget about me. That they actually care. And that was really important to me while I was in treatment. And I wanted to make sure that we stick with it now. So we do art meetings. We work with their case managers, the treatment facilities case managers, to get updates, to see what their needs are. And it could be dental. It could be anything that the client is needing. It will be going through the case managers to help them. You know, our case managers are with a client for, I want to say, 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
About 3 to 6 months, they'll have a case manager. That's all the way to transitioning out. So when they get into, the case managers will help them get into sober living. They will talk with probation officers. They will figure out transportation if they need to get to court. You know, every little detail from when they first get into a treatment facility all the way until the end. They will work with them, and anything that they need, we'll try to help the client in what we can do.
So how long have you guys been implementing the case management system?
Since the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's important because I know a lot of the time, even with us coordinators, there's initially like, I think 5 or 6 of us coordinators that do the intake calls and send the referrals. Once we get them placed, we hand them off to Toni and her team with the case management. So there's a whole nother set of team they work with. We all still communicate very closely so we know what's going on. But I mean, since the beginning, that's the way we worked. We just found that it's a lot easier to follow them on a weekly basis than to find out, oh, we did place this client here 2 months ago. Now let's reach out.
Right.
You know, just having that connection with them on a weekly basis is huge. Like Toni was saying, it helps them feel like there's a connection to home yet. And not only that, a lot of us grew up together, so we know each other already. So there's already that bond there. But just to let them know, you know, what's going on at home. Some of them are so worried that they may be missing something at home, and just that reassurance that, you know, they're still here when you get here and ready to pick up when you're got yourself better and ready on the road to recovery.
Yep. And we also help, I believe a big portion is the mental health with it as well. So individual therapy, you know, we try to encourage the client to get into Hawk Vision or a therapy in their area where they're gonna go home to, or where they're going to be in sober living. So we try to implement that into their transitional planning too.
Mental health is key, I think, because they go through the emotions, and not all facilities, I mean, depending on the individual too, how willing they are to open up and share what happened to them, as to maybe there was a reasoning or trauma that affected them, why they started, you know, addiction. A lot of them just figure, well, if I go through this and I'm sober for 6 months, that's it. Or sober for 3 months, that's it. But they forget to deal with that mental health portion of it. I know my sister, you know, she had a lot of mental health. I had lost a sister to an overdose a couple years ago. She said, okay, I did it, sister. I finished this 30-day treatment. I'm going into this PHP programming. Now I'm waiting for my mental health services. But no matter, like, it was still there. You can see that there was stuff that she wasn't willing to share with us that had happened to her. And it was like just underneath there, and it would surface every now and then. And that's when she would get so broken and feel like, you know, using again. But I mean, with the community around her, we hoped that it would help, but I know that's the mental health, again, is priority. If we don't always, like, I can't always address that, or Toni's case management team, you know, we've been through our own stories, but again, we have to make sure that that's a priority for them. Like, that's where Hawk Vision comes in, and I'm so thankful for them because they don't have to wait for months at a time before they're scheduled in.
I'm glad you guys bring that up too, man, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, you know, and I 3.5 years, a little over 3.5 years sober, and coming into my recovery, I dealt with mental health my entire life. And when I got sober this time, I decided like I was going to do it without medication. I was going to do it my way. And I went a long time, you know, I went over 3 years, and just things weren't great, you know, and I finally had to like swallow my pride and reach out for help, you know, and I think that's a big part of this thing for everyone, you know, and for anyone listening out there, you know, if you're struggling with that, like, don't be afraid to reach out for help. Like, it's okay. And thank you for sharing that with us, Izzy. You know, I think that's what we're here for. You know, that's really good stuff.
I really try to push therapy, because as Native families, you know, where whatever happens in this house stays in this house. You know, a lot of our people are scared to share, you know, with what happened to them, you know. So me, when I was in treatment, you know, that was offered to me, and I was scared to take it. But when I did, it helped so much. It helped me in my recovery to be able to get some of that stuff just lifted off of my shoulders, off my chest, you know, and yeah, so that's why I really try to push individual therapy. You know, and we doing this for several years. We've had clients come through a couple times, you know, a few times. And like you said, when you were in your early recovery, you wanted to do it your way. You didn't want to take suggestions. Same as me, you know, and a lot of us are like that. But we've worked with you before. We know what you did before. Okay, it didn't work. Let's try something new. Let's try a different sober living. Let's try sober living in general. You know, some clients don't want to go into sober living. Some of our clients are too worried about outside problems that they feel are bigger than what is happening right now. And our case managers and our intake, you know, talk to our clients to let them know, okay, it didn't work this way. Let's try a different route. Let's try something different. Let's try something new. You know, and of course, we're going to get some kickback. But a lot of times, they do try it. They do like it. It works for them. So trying to have that that compassion with them when they do kick back is very important, because I know in early recovery for me, it was me against the world. You know, I didn't need anybody's help. I didn't want to take that suggestion. I didn't want to do that. But as soon as I did, things started flowing easily. Things started working out. It didn't come at my pace that I wanted, but that was okay. Just working with the clients, and that's one big thing that I try to do with these art meetings, and try to tell the case managers, it's not an interview. It's not it's not an interview. It's a conversation that you're having with that client, to see how they're doing, you know, what's bothering them, you know, anything that we can talk about where we can help is what I really try to push our case managers to do. And we do have there are a couple of us that are in recovery, you know, so I feel like that life experience comes hand in hand in talking with our clients and getting them through hard times while they're in treatment facilities.
I think so there's something I want to share too. Also, I also went through MHA recovery services, and you know, I didn't come in on a winning streak. I came in on an indictment, and I think around the time that I kind of came in, like, we were still unsure of like who to call, like, where do we go? And my mom, you know, like, me laying all that stuff on my mom and my family, like, you guys are just trying to keep me in here, you know what I mean? Like, that type of thing. But like, we honestly didn't really know who to call or how to get into services. And I got indicted in like 2020, end of 2020. So everything was still new. Everything was kind of still being created. So it's not like a fast thing like it is today. You know what I mean? Like you call this number, they get you intake, everything. But like for me, it took a while. And, you know, sitting in a jail cell, you know, like not knowing part, I was just like, man, you know what I mean? Like I really struggled for a long time. I sat in there for, I think like 9.5 months, you know, until I was like finally got accepted into a treatment center. And for our listeners and stuff like that, Toni is my sister, and she plays a big part in my recovery story. And you know, there was a time there where I was like, I didn't think recovery was possible. You know what I mean? Like I honestly didn't know what life would look like without drugs and alcohol. And my sister came in and seen me in my in jail and stuff, and like that's when I knew. So I think that's when I knew like recovery can be possible. You know what I mean? Like I can live a life without drugs and alcohol. And I think the cool part about MHA Recovery Services is that all of us have used or drank together. You know what I mean? And seeing it work for other people, I think is like what drives everybody to kind of come together. Like, what is this person doing? What is that person doing? Like, am I able to do this too? You know what I mean? So like, so the MHA Recovery Services sent me to my first treatment center, and I was on pre-trial release. You know what I mean? So I was under certain stipulations to where like I had to follow these rules, or I was going to get sent back to jail or whatever. But whatever this recovery team was suggesting, you know what I mean? Like I was not fighting it. Like you said that me coming to this treatment center was going to help keep me sober longer. Like that's what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like I fully was at the breaking point to where I was like willing to do whatever they suggested. And so after I finished my first treatment center, the sober living wasn't open yet. They didn't have Healing Hearts. They didn't have a women's sober lodge. So they were like, we're going to send you to Good Road. You know, it was like 2 treatments back to back, but I was like, all right, you know, let's do it. So I went to my second treatment center, and I did, I think it was like 63 days at Good Road. And then the Healing Hearts, and Nani opened up the first women's sober lodge. And, you know, I was still taking suggestions. I wasn't in a rush. I wasn't trying to rush it. I indulged myself in the 12-step program, and I found a higher power that I truly thought that he had me where he needed me. You know what I mean? And that me taking other suggestions was what was going to help me keep me sober. So I fully understand. And then at Good Road too, they offered therapy. And I was like, no. And same thing with Toni too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, no, I don't need therapy. You know what I mean? But like, if it was offered and it's free and it's there, like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, what do I have to lose from like trying therapy? And of course, you know, the first session I had with Don, no, I'm okay. I think I'm really okay. You know what I mean? Like, not really, like, because that's what I've told myself my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, no, I think I'm fine. I think I'm all right. You know what I mean? But, I gave it a try, and she did help me out in certain ways. So I thought that was pretty cool. So MHA Recovery, I'm a product of MHA Recovery Services, and I fully support everything that intake does, along with the surrounding teams.
We did have a little kickback from Des too.
No, they didn't.
No. So when Anani came up, that's when I was working sober living.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of the sober living team to get that house up and running. And Des was in there. So when Healing Hearts came, opened up, you know, Des was like, no, I don't want to go over there. I just want to stay here. And I don't think she understood how awesome Healing Hearts is, and like what is offered, and like the living, you know, just any of it. And I was just like, come on, we got to go. Like, we have to go. And as soon as they opened up, then that's when I went into MHA Recovery Services, the team. That's when, and honestly, I was thrown in there. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn from the very bottom, everything, ROIs, working with insurance, the whole 9. I knew nothing about. So me and Dr. Freilich, and she was there, and that's when we started the hotline. And I was the only one with the hotline. So the hotline was going off at all hours the whole time. You know, there's constantly calls coming in. And I'm trying to figure out a process to get everybody help, you know, and I was overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed. I believe I had like 2 years of sobriety, and I talked to Dr. Freilich, and I was just like, I need help. Like, we need to get a team together and just help this process along. I said, because I can't do it. I can't do it alone, you know. And she was the director of Good Road. She was running Good Road. She was fairly new, I believe, back then. So she had a lot going on with just the treatment center. So I was trying to take care of this and not trying to ask her for too much help. And so then that's when the team came together. And then we were stuck in a little room up at Good Road, and where there was like just cabinets of just files, and like we didn't have really anything to kind of go off of, you know. So it's really amazing to see where we started and how we grew within 3-4 years.
Right.
You know, and man, this woman right here, Izzy, is amazing to work with. I'm really happy to have her on our team. You know, she's very compassionate, you know, she's understanding. She can she does it all. I feel like Izzy is like our mom on the team. You know what I mean? If we're having a problem, we'll go to Izzy. You know, so yeah, it's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see how far we've come and how big our team has become. You know,
Sure.
and that's with all the programs.
Yeah.
That's with all the that's sober living, that's POCs, that's transports, that's just within 3 to 4 years how big it has become.
Yeah, I remember Toni when I first started. She was constantly like going, like practically running down the hallways, and I'm like, wow, there she goes again.
She still does that.
Yeah, she does.
No reason now. She just does it.
That's funny.
And I think Izzy has to get out of here in a few minutes. So, but I do want to ask you this, Izzy. What would you say to someone who's scared to make that first call or doesn't know if they're ready for it?
Ooh, Toni had a good answer to this question, but
We'll get her.
what
after
I'm
you
gonna
go.
say is, you know what? We're not gonna force you into doing anything. We're here for you when you're ready. Just I encourage you to continue or to call or even have a family member call. If you're scared to call, we can give them the information. You know, eventually we do ask that you call and give us the information because some people aren't always upfront with individuals. But I mean, whatever you share with us is kept confidential. It's not shared with everybody else. I mean, that's what we make sure under our rules is that just because, you know, like Toni and Des are sisters, if they know each other, their information is not going to get shared with each other. It's still only pertinent information. I know a lot of people are worried about that or they feel ashamed. That's one thing I know I've ran into a lot of clients. They say, well, I was sober for this long and then I relapsed. That's okay. We're not going to judge you. Call in when you need to, when you feel you're ready. We have people, even if you just want to talk. I know a lot of people call the hotline and it's on 24/7, it's manned. So somebody's available to talk with you, even if you're just needing service or reassurance. So don't let anything stop you. On our hotline, I think everybody has the hotline number, 421-8869, and we'll find a way to get to the services you need.
Awesome. Thanks, Izzy.
Thanks, Izzy.
But I did want to say one thing about Toni too. Like, I know she gave me a lot of praise there, but I mean, that's how I feel about the team as a whole, like all MHA recovery services. If we don't support each other or even be concerned about each individual's mental health, you know, we go through a lot that can set triggers for our team, for somebody who maybe is calling and, you know, they had that connection with their sister, or even when it comes to me, when I'm helping other family members or friends that are calling out for the first time, make sure you know your limits as well as the team member. Make sure you take that time off when needed because burnout is real and it has affected our team at some point, you know, individuals, one another. But definitely take the time that you need and give yourself love as well. And make sure you always are believing in that higher power. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me the time to speak with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yes. Thanks,
Thanks, Izzy.
Izzy.
Thanks, Izzy.
So, what do you think is the most challenging part of your job?
You know, like Izzy said, becoming emotionally detached to clients.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's probably hit every one of our team members at some point. We care a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we care a lot about our clients, and we want to see them do good. We want the best for them, you know, and we try our hardest. And I believe that's one of the big things is emotional attachment. Another thing I kind of have down here is denial and resistance. So many of the individuals that call the hotline, some don't believe they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of us in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have a problem in the beginning either, you know. So that plus factoring either it's family or the court system, you know, there's only that half motivation there to get things done, to complete because the court said so, or I just want to get this over and done with right now, you know, like Des said earlier. Resistance, you know, such as hostility, avoidance, or dishonesty during during the intake process, about their usage. And you know, it's the intake process that we do that when they get ready to do an eval, the LAC will look at that and they get information off of that. So it's really important to be honest with us when we do the intake process. So then we can get you the help that you need. When a client is currently withdrawing or they're currently using during the intake process, it's tough to get the right information from them. Sometimes it's way they call intoxicated, like very intoxicated, where we can't understand them, you know, and we know that they need help, but we can't get any information from them at that moment. So we have to wait until they're kind of coherent to get any information. And that comes a lot with the hotline. Another big thing is unstable living conditions. So if a person calls the hotline and they're homeless, it's hard to get referrals out. It's hard to contact them, you know, to get, we have to sit there and wait for them to call us back. And we don't know when that's going to be. And that's tough. That's tough to do. And to work with a client that is homeless. But it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
We will sit there and we will wait. We will wait for that call to come back, so that we can help that client. System barriers, limited program availability, especially in the beginning, when it kind of first started, it was hard because working with insurance, we're able to work with certain facilities, right, with our insurance, our tribal insurance. And now it's kind of expanded. It's kind of expanded now. But there are wait lists at times. Good Road is filled up. You know, during winter times, it's hard to get somebody in. And it also hinders immediate placement into treatment. So, like you said earlier, Jared, you know, when I was in active addiction and I wanted to quit, I wanted it done right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to treatment right now. And that's always in the back of my head, because we have a limited time. We have that short window where we can work with that client when they're ready. Okay, they're ready right now. Let's do this, this, and this. We need to work fast. We need to get everybody on board. What's going on with this client, and the services that they need. They need to be transported. We need to get. It's just different. We're always on our toes all the time, and lack of trust. And I want to put this story out there. So when I first started, an individual came into my office and said, "Can you call this number? My brother needs treatment." And it's like, of course, I knew this individual. I knew the brother. So I'm talking to them and getting the demographics that I need to start this process. And they were intoxicated. And in the middle of the questions, he's like, "Wait, hold on. Who are you? Are you a scammer? Why do you need all my information?" You know, and to this day, and he's still sober. You know, we were able to get him services, able to get him treatment, and to this day, he always brings that up to me. He always brings that up. "Hey, you remember when you called? Remember, and I was kind of out of it. You know, like, you know." And it's so that lack of trust is there. They don't know our intentions, you know. And when we're in active addiction, we don't really trust anybody, you know. So trying to get over that barrier as well.
What I like about having these podcasts is like we get the insight on a whole different other perspective of like what we actually think of just personally. You know what I mean? Like it should be a simple job. Just get me to treatment and do this. You know what I mean? Get me there. Find me my transportation. But there's like such a deep process that like goes through with it, and people think it's just it should be a snap of a finger. But like there's so many people that have to get involved, that have to know certain things, and the honesty part. You know what I mean? Like and an addict, alcoholic calling the phone to tell you the honest truth about themselves isn't easy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just awesome to kind of hear the whole inside view of intake.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your new endeavor that you got going on?
So I've worked with the MHA recovery services with the adults for about 3.5 years while I've been here. I am now transferring over to adolescents. And it is a new program that we're trying to build, but it is much needed. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to say the past month and a half, I've been going to the groups and meeting with some of the kids that are currently in services, and it's much needed. Mm-hmm. You know, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, all the way up to 17, you know, and they're using heavily. Try not to get emotional. And this is our future. This is our future, and they need help. And where I'm having trouble is there's not a lot of services for adolescents as much as there are for adults. And being there, having the boots on the ground, meeting with them, you know, it's tough to see our kids go through the things that they're going through. Their parents are using. They have to live with grandma or grandpa. You know, things happen. Things happen to our kids. You know, where grief groups are needed. just therapy. I'm trying to get them to get used to going to AA meetings, you know, and the passion that I have for this job, you know, it's my job is overwhelming at times, but I need to help. I need to help our future generations, you know. I feel like the adults are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our team has expanded to where I'm seeing more and more of our kids that are calling in, and we don't have a process, because in the beginning there weren't many, if any, kids that needed treatment services that I knew of that were calling in that needed services. And the longer that I've worked here, it's progressing. It's really progressing, and I see the need. I see the need to help our kids.
Mm.
You know, and I'm happy to say that, you know, we're building this program. We're getting, you know, we just had a meeting earlier today, and to see the culture program, to see sober living, to see the point of contacts, everybody wants to help, is asking, okay, what can we do? How can we help? You know, and it's really good to see that. It's just, I feel like we're starting at the bottom again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from where the MHA recovery services started. I feel like we're at the bottom, and we have to build that up again. But now I have a whole team, all these programs to lean on, to get suggestions from, to get help, to get what's needed for our kids. So that is the new news that I would like to say, is that we're going to be working with our adolescents and getting an adolescent program started. It's already started.
Mm-hmm.
It's already started. So I will be doing the intake and case management for our kids. You know, we get a lot of referrals from the jail. You know, from juvenile court. So we're kind of starting there. We're starting there. We had a couple calls come in for the hotline. You know, and so we're starting out slow, but I know that it is a big need, especially on the reservation, because there's not a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
So finding events, finding like the PLC's youth bash, youth cultural camps, the Recovery on the Plains event, grief groups. The Door is a very big help in the youth. They have youth talking circles. So trying to find things, especially during the summer now, for the kids to do, and so they're not bored. And you know, when we get bored, we're in early recovery. You know, we're just sitting there. You know, kind of there's too much time there. So to keep them busy and to keep them active, you know.
And I know that you said, especially on the reservation, and last summer I volunteered at this camp because there was one camp when I was growing up that we all got to go to, you know, on Standing Rock. And I don't know, something was like telling me to go volunteer there last year. So I went, and then I was like the camp leader for the middle school boys. And then there were some people from out of town, but those boys were just like rough on them, you know. They didn't know how to like communicate with them or take nothing from, like, they didn't know how to deal with them, you know. But I did, obviously, and so by the end of that first night, like, we were all cool, and by the end of that second night, I realized that, like, none of those boys in that cabin with me, like, had a dad in the home, you know. none of them. They all lived with grandma, or some of them lived with mom, you know. And I don't know. I just remember leaving there and realizing like how tough of a go they were gonna have, you know. And like some of them are using already, and you know, they were just kind of they would go to that camp just to kind of get away for a week, you know. That was their. And I remember me doing the same thing, you know. I would go to that camp just to get away from home for a week, or just to like get away. And I know there's more that we can all do, you know. And they make it hard though to help the youth. Like even when we tried to get into school here in Bismarck, there was like a whole process they wanted us to do just in order to go in there and help. And it's like we're here, we want to help, you know.
Yeah.
Like, well, hold on, you could do this, which I get, but that's awesome. And you guys are gonna do great work. You've done it once, you know. Look what's here.
Yeah.
So, and we're gonna be looking back 3 years from now, and the youth thing's gonna be just like this, you know. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I pray for that. Really, I do. It's much needed. And these kids, man, they're awesome. You know, they're awesome. So I really hope this becomes something very big, like, and fast. You know, to get all the help that we need and to get them the help that they need. So, yep.
So what would you say to someone that's scared to make that first call, or doesn't know if they're ready to make that first call?
It's okay to be scared. You know, me being in recovery as well, I know how scary it was because I didn't know who to call, you know. But now with the hotline, asking for help is one of the bravest things that you can do, you know, and it takes a lot of courage to ask for help. But to call in and we will walk with you all the way through. We will help you, you know, no judgment. You know, we have no place to judge, you know, the person that's on the other side of that phone call. We care about you and we just want to help you. We want to help you take those steps to a better life and to discover what recovery can really do for you. So I really encourage anyone who is scared to call in, you know, just muster it up and try it. Try something different. You know, we're here to help. That comes from my heart because I'm very passionate about my job. You know, I care a lot, and so do my team members. You know, they just wanna help you, and yeah, we'll get through this together.
What do you want people to understand about intake and the support that your team provides?
So, the work that we do is more than just paperwork. I feel like it's a doorway to hope and to healing. Many of the individuals that we work with are at their lowest point, and that means dealing with shame, guilt, fear, and uncertainty. Our job isn't just to get an individual into treatment. You know, we walk with them all the way through, and I believe that our team creates a safe, non-judgmental space where every person feels seen, heard, and respected. You know, we meet people where they are. That's at their lowest, emotionally, physically, mentally. And we just walk with them to take those first steps towards recovery. We offer information, encouragement, guidance, and most importantly, compassion. And I believe the intake process can be the moment someone starts to believe change is possible. And with that belief, and I truly believe, like Des said earlier, just knowing that change is possible, it's a big thing. It's huge. And I believe that's where recovery starts, is having that belief that, and seeing and knowing that change is possible. So yeah, I feel like our job it's not just paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
We are fully into emotionally and mentally into our clients and trying to better help have them. I want the clients to see the world of recovery, because when I was in active addiction, I seen the world as black and white. There was no color. It was sadness, there's I didn't see no hope, honestly. And I didn't think I was going to make it. And now, little over 6 years of sobriety, this world can be very beautiful. This world is very beautiful without drugs and alcohol. And at one point, I didn't believe that you could have fun without drugs and alcohol. I didn't think that was honestly possible. So showing people that it is possible, it's really, it gets me emotional, because now how many people I've seen that have years of sobriety that I've worked with, to see them get their kids back, to see them graduate with a GED or a college degree, to see them get their first vehicle, to see them get their license, it's like, man, it makes my heart happy from seeing them at their lowest point, and even sometimes I'd cry, from seeing them at their lowest point to seeing them just doing wonders in life. Man, that's the greatest reward there is to see, and it's I constantly, when I do come up here to Bismarck, I have people come up to me and thank me and everything, and it feels really good. But honestly, I was just there to guide you. I was there to help you. You did all the work, and you didn't think of it back then. But now seeing them 2-3 years sober, it's just an amazing feeling, being able to see that. And I think that I can speak for the whole team, on that, and having them see that as well. It's a really big reward.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take us out, Des?
No, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so we have Spotify, YouTube, TikTok. It's all Morningstar Podcast. Give us a like and subscribe. Give us some feedback. Whoever you think would be a good guest on our podcast here, we're open to suggestions. Yeah, that's all I got. In this life we live free, yeah. In this life we live free,